Um, Today, this video that I will be doing, it's about a new concept that we will be learning about. It's called the coordinate plane. This is also under our topic of data, and we will be focusing on this for today. There are a lot of parts to this, so I'm going to be reviewing all of the parts of the coordinate plane just so we are introduced to all of these parts, and we will have some time at the end to practice all of these things that I will be discussing throughout the video. So just to begin, the name, it's called the coordinate plane. So as you can see here, we have the red line that says the y-axis and the blue line over here that says the x-axis. Now, where these two lines come together, you could see they cross over at one point. And that one point is darkened over here by this black dot, and that's called the origin. That's where it begins. So I'm just going to scroll down real quick just to show you. So here we have our coordinate plane. This is just a bigger version. And as you can see here, the line that goes up and down, it's called the y-axis. The line that goes from side to side, that's called the x-axis. Now, within this coordinate plane, as you can see, this looks like a cross, and it's divided up into four boxes. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. This also goes over that as well. Now, these four boxes are called quadrants. Okay, so we have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. And as you can see in this picture, we have the lines coordinated, color-coded. The y-axis right here is blue. So remember, the y-axis goes up and down. So that's something important that you will need to remember. Y-axis goes up and down. Okay. And the x-axis, that's in red, goes from left to right or side to side. So those are two important things that you'll need to remember for this topic specifically. Is the y-axis goes up and down, the x-axis goes side to side. And then within our coordinate plane, okay, just remember that we have our plane divided into 4 different parts, and those 4 parts are called quadrants. So this will always be quadrant 1. This will always be quadrant 2. This will always be quadrant 3. And this will always be quadrant 4. So where the numbers are listed, that's how they're always going to be. 1 will never be here and 2 will never be here. This is exactly how they are listed in this picture. This is how they'll always be. So just remember, quadrant 1 is at the top right. Quadrant 2 is on the top left. Quadrant 3 is on the lower left. And quadrant 4 is on the lower right. So far, just a quick review of what I've went over already. We have a name, this new name that we are learning, called the coordinate plane. And as you can see here, the coordinate plane kind of looks like this cross or a lowercase t. And we have the y-axis. That is the line that goes up and down. And we have the x-axis. That is the line that goes from side to side. Okay. Now, where these lines intersect, or where they cross over and they combine at one point. As you can see, where the y-axis and the x-axis cross over, they bump into each other at one point, and that would be right here in the middle. That, oops, sorry about that, right here, where my mouse cursor is, in the middle, that's where they cross over at this point, and that point is called the origin. Okay, it just that all you need to know is the origin. That's where the y-axis and the x-axis, that's where they meet together. They meet at this one point, and that one point is called the origin. So remember, y-axis goes up and down, x-axis goes side to side, and we have our coordinate plane divided into 4 different parts, and we have those parts are called quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Now we are going to move on to another part of the coordinate plane, something called ordered pairs. Ordered pairs. So, ordered pairs are points that are plotted or graphed on this coordinate plane. So, as you can see here, here is a point that's graphed or plotted on this coordinate plane. Okay, and to get the directions, pretty much, of this ordered pair, to get the direction of this point, that's where we get the name ordered pairs. It's pretty much, if we're starting here at our origin and we want to get over here, what is our directions to get there? So, first I just want to go over how our y-axis is, as you can see here, the red, and our x-axis is the blue line. Okay, this over here, this as we can see over here, in this picture we see all 4 of the quadrants. This is the entire coordinate plane, and we see all 4 of the quadrants in this picture. But when I move down here, I only see quadrant 1. Only quadrant 1 is in this picture. We don't see quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or quadrant 4. It's only quadrant 1 in this picture. So just to recap, y-axis is in red, up and down. X-axis is in blue, side to side. And this is quadrant 1 where we are focusing right now. And then remember, the point where the y-axis and the x-axis meet together is right here in the black dot, and that is called our origin. So where these 2 lines bump into each other, that is called the origin. Now I have this other point on my graph right at the top over here. Now the name that I introduced earlier, called an ordered pair, an ordered pair is what we see right here. And like I said, it's pretty much the directions that we need to get to this point, starting from the origin. So if I'm starting off over here at the origin, and I want to get over here, I need directions. Just like if you are at home and you want to get to school, you need to know directions of how to get to school, or else you won't know how to get there. So that's exactly what we're doing here. We need directions from here, the start, over here to where this point is, and we just need to see how to get there. And that's where we get our name ordered pair. That's what ordered pairs is. It's the directions from the origin to the points that are plotted. So this is just one example. So now to find the directions, what we need to do is we always start at the origin. We always start at the origin. Okay, so this is kind of like our home base right here. And there's this expression down here that says run before you jump. Because the specific way to get up to this point, what we have to do is we have to use the x-axis first, and then after we use that, then we use the y-axis. So we need to go side to side first before we go up or down. So we need to always do side to side before up or down. So as you can see, if we're starting here at the home base, we are running 2 points. We are running 1, 2. And that is where we put our 2. Now, how we write an ordered pair is exactly as it's written over here in this example. These are parentheses, this black little curve over here, and this black little curve. So that is parentheses. That's what we call those, parentheses. And our 2 numbers, we only have 2 numbers. It's 1 and 2. 2 numbers. They're separated by a comma, as you can see over here. So in order to write an ordered pair, we need our parentheses, our 2 numbers that are separated by a comma. We always need that comma, because if we didn't have that comma, then I'm looking at the number 23, and that's not correct. So our first number, so right when we write our first parentheses, our first number tells us how far we need to run. So remember, running is down here. We're using the x-axis first. And then our second number tells us how high we need to jump. And that's what we're using our y-axis. So this number tells us how far we need to run. And this number tells us how high we need to jump. So to get to this point, starting here from the origin, I need to run 2 spots, so 1, 2, and then I would write the number 2 and put a comma, and then let's see how high I need to jump, 1, 2, 3, and then I would put 3 and close my parentheses. So I know this is a very new concept. This will take a lot of practice before we become very familiar with this. So just to recap before I move on, we have our y-axis, up and down, and our x-axis, side to side. Where these 2 lines cross over or meet, as you can see at this black point, that's called the origin. Now what we're focusing on over here, it's just the first quadrant. The first quadrant. Now, when there are other points plotted on our graph, we need directions on how to get to those other points. So we always have to start off at our home base, and our home base is our origin, where the 2 lines meet. So we're always starting off at our origin. And now if I just go up here, our origin would be right here in the center. So where the 2 lines meet, that's our origin. And if I go up here, where these 2 lines meet, that's our origin. Okay, so just go down to where we were. Now, an ordered pair, which is right over here, that's the directions of how to get to a different point from our home base. So this ordered pair that's listed over here tells us the directions of how to get to this little point from our home base. So remember, we need to run before we can jump. So I need to run, and I run 2 spots, and then I have to jump up 1, 2, 3, and that's how I get my 2 here and my 3 here. And remember, when we are writing these ordered pairs, we always have to write parentheses, which are these black curves, the beginning and at the end. We write our number of how far we had to run first. Running, always that number comes first. Then we separate the 2 numbers with a comma. And then how high we have to jump comes second. We cannot reverse these 2 numbers. That would be incorrect. The correct way is we need to see running first, going side to side, and then jumping either up or down. So that's why I'm hoping this picture over here with these little raccoons maybe would help to stick that we need to run before we can jump. So now over here, this is just another example of what I just said earlier in this last picture. It's using Mario as an example. So just like how the raccoon said, first run, then jump, this is just showing Mario of how he needs to run before he needs to jump. So in order to write our ordered pairs, remember, we have our y-axis, which is the line that goes up and down. And then we have our x-axis, that's the line that goes from side to side. Where the 2 points, or I'm sorry, where these 2 lines meet, it's right here where my mouse is. Oops, right here. And that's my origin. We always need to find our origin because that's how we need to, that's our home base, and that's where we're, what we're going to use to get the directions of a different point. So this just shows you Mario over here running and then jumping. So remember, an ordered pair, oops, I'm just going to type that for you, make it bigger. So an ordered pair we always use our parentheses. And our 2 numbers are separated by a comma. So the numbers, let's use what Mario had over here, 8, 7. So that's how we write an ordered pair. Remember, we need to use our parentheses, and then it's how far we had to run, separated by a comma by how high we needed to jump. So if my point was right over here where Mario's hat is, what I need to do is start off at my home base, which is the origin, and I need to see how far does Mario have to run. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I need to see how high he has to jump. Actually, let's make the point would be right here in the middle of Mario. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's where we get this. If I wanted to make my point right here where the top of the arrow ends, then I would only have to jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would change that by writing it like this. So Mario still had to run 8 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I'm looking to where the top of my arrow is right over here, then I would have to see how high he has to jump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would write it just like this. My parentheses, 8, because that's how far he had to run, separated by a comma, and he jumped up 6 spaces, and then I close my parentheses, and that's my ordered pair. Okay, let's do some more review, because the more we repeat this information, then the more familiar you will become with it. So again, the name of this whole thing, it's called the coordinate plane. Okay, so again, we have our y-axis that goes up and down, and our x-axis that goes from side to side. And where the y-axis and the x-axis meet, it's called our origin. That's called our origin. And when we need to find directions to another point, we always are finding directions from our origin or our home base. So as you can see over here, this point, in order for me to find my directions to this point, I need to start off from here. So let's see how far I need to run. 1, 2, 3. So I have to run 3 spots, and that's where we put our parentheses, and I would write 3 and separated by a comma. Then I need to see how high I need to jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I would put my 4 here and close my parentheses. And that is my ordered pair. That's my direction of how to get to this point from my home base. And just another fact, our home base, our origin, the directions of our origin is always 0, 0. So parentheses 0, comma, 0, parentheses. This is always, always, always our direction for our origin, our home base. So we're always starting off at 0, comma, 0. That's our directions from our home. So we're always trying to get directions from our home to where different points can be. Okay. So, another review about ordered pairs. This is the point that's on a grid that's at a specific location. So each point would be at a different spot. It could be here one time, it could be here, it could be down here. So it's never going to be in just one spot. But our origin, which is our home base, will always be over here, where the y-axis and the x-axis meet together. Okay, so remember that to get our ordered pair, this is the format that we write it, parentheses, which are right here in pink, and then our numbers are separated by a comma. The numbers have to be separated by a comma. And remember, we always are going from side to side before we go up and down. So we always need to run before we can jump. Or another way that we can remember, it's over and up. So let's see, for example, now if I wanted to find 4, 3, if I wanted to see where this point is, I would just start off here, down here at my origin, and I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, because it told me I need to run 4 times. So this is telling me run 4 spots. Okay, I did that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I stop here. Now I need to know how high do I need to jump. This is telling me jump 3 spots. So 1, 2, 3. And that's where we get my point, right over here. Now, it's very important that we do not mix these two numbers up, because we would get the wrong point. And this shows you that. So if I only ran 3 spots, 1, 2, 3, and then jumped 4 spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, my point would be right over here, and that's incorrect. I should be over here. So that's why it's so important that we do not confuse our numbers. We always need to run before we can jump. So running always goes first, and jumping always goes second. So running goes first, jumping goes second. So this is just a another way of how to kind of restate what I just said, of how to plot points on our coordinate plane. So remember, we always start off at our home base. Our home base is our origin. Right over here, our origin. That's where my y-axis that goes up and down and my x-axis that goes from side to side meet. They always meet at a point, and that point is called our origin or our home base. whenever we are plotting different points, we always need to start off here. So remember that we always move side to side, or we have to run first. We can run across, and we don't put a point yet. So do not put a point after you run. So for example, over here, I had to run 4 times. I wouldn't say, okay, I need to start off at my origin here. 1, 2, 3, 4, point. No. We do not do that. We don't put our point yet because we need to jump next. And after we jump, that's when we put our point. So after I jump my 3 times that this tells me to do, that's when I put my point, and then I have my directions. But I cannot have 2 points. I can only have 1. These directions are always just for 1 point, not for 2, just for 1. So that's something else that we need to remember. So after we move or after we run, then we need to jump up and down. And after that, then we draw our point. So that's just something else to remember. First we run, then we jump, and then we put our point. Okay. So this is just another way of just to review everything I just said, because I know this is so much new material and it's so hard that we're not face to face to be going over all this, and it has to be all done through video. So I'm trying to review as much as I can so that you become more familiar with this new topic that we're talking about. So remember, this whole thing is called our coordinate plane. As you can see, our y-axis goes up and down. Our x-axis goes from side to side. Where the y-axis and the x-axis meet, this point here in blue, that's our origin. That's our origin. And we have 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So our coordinate plane, it looks like a lowercase t or a cross, and it's separated into 4 boxes, and each box is called a quadrant. Okay, then we have what comes next, our ordered pair. And that tells us the directions of how to get to certain points from our home base. And remember, we always need to run before we can jump. And we then plot just 1 point. So we write the parentheses, then we write how far we had to run. We separated by a comma. And then the next one is we write how high we had to jump, and we close our parentheses. And that's how an ordered pair looks like. Another way that you can remember this says you always need to dribble across the court before we can shoot. So this is how much we need to dribble before we can shoot. So that's just another way, if that helps you to remember, or you can just say over and up or run and jump. So these are just different ways to help you to remember how the way we write our ordered pair, that running comes first and then jumping comes second. We cannot confuse them or else we get our answers wrong. Okay, so now we are going to do some practice with ordered pairs. So as you can see here, I have different fruits and veggies that are plotted on my graph over here, or on my coordinate plane. And I need to find the direction for all of these different items. Okay, So, just a quick recap. Y-axis, up and down. X-axis, side to side. They meet at this point, the origin. So, let's see. I'm looking for my pineapple. It's right over here. I need to see, how do I get my pineapple from my home base? So remember, we need to run before we can jump. We need to run before we can jump. So I need to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So I would write that. So let's answer number 1. Remember, I write my parentheses, how much we need to run, separated by a comma. Make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. To see how high we need to jump. So that's 1, 2. I would write 2 and close my parentheses. So I just started from my origin, saw how far I needed to run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Write my parentheses 5, separated by a comma. And then my next one is how high I needed to jump. 1, 2. Write my 2 and close my parentheses. Okay, we're going to do a lot of different examples just so that we can get more practice on this. Okay, now I'm looking for my next item, and that's over here. So remember, I always start off at my home base. Always start off at my home base here. So first I need to see, how far am I running? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so let me write that down. My parentheses 8, followed by a comma. And now I need to see, how high am I jumping? 1. So I only have to jump 1 spot. I write 1, close my parentheses. Okay, let's go to my next one. Looking for my apple here. My apples, oh, that's pretty far from where I live over here. So let's see how far I need to run first. So I start off over here at my home base. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have to run 4 times, 4 spots. Write my parentheses. 4 separated by a comma. How high do I need to jump? I need to jump pretty high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had to jump up 9 spots to get to that apple. So I would have to put 9, close my parentheses. Okay, let's go to my next one. I'm going to my eggplant. So remember, I start off at my home base. How far I need to run first? 1. Okay, I only have to run 1 spot, but I have to jump pretty high. So remember, parentheses, 1, followed by a comma, and then I need to jump up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get to my eggplant. So I'm going to write 10, close my parentheses. Okay, let's do my next one, broccoli. Okay, I'm going to go back to my graph. So I'm starting over here at my home base. Let's see how far I have to run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I need to run 9 times. 9 spots, I'm sorry. I'm just going to write that here, parentheses 9, followed by a comma. And then I need to jump up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots to get to my broccoli. So then I would write 5, close my parentheses. Okay. Now my next section says, now over here from 1 to 5, I needed to find the directions of how to get to these fruits and veggies. But over here, I'm given the directions. So now I just need to locate these items. So I'm given the directions, and now I just need to see what item is there. So let's start off over here. I have 2, 2. Okay, so remember I always start off at my home base. Now this is telling me to run 2 times. So I am running 1, 2. And then it's telling me to jump up 2 times as well. So I'm jumping up 1, 2. So I have a tomato over here. So then I would just write tomato. Okay, now my next one says I need to run 9 times. I need to run 9 times, 9 spots. So I'm starting off at my home base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I need to stop here. Now it says jump up 7 spots. So 1, let me just make this, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm right over here and just going to write down what that is. Pear. Oops. Okay. That looks like a pear to me. So now my next one says run across 2 spots. Okay, and start off at my origin. 1, 2. Okay, got it. Now I need to jump up 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I end right over here. That looks like my watermelon. So we'll just put watermelon. Okay, let's go to my next one. My next directions is running across 3 times. Okay, so I start off at my origin, my home. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I need to jump up 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I end right over here. That looks like my turnip. Okay, and then last one. This says run across 7 times. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it says jump up 3 times. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And I end right over here. Looks like a tomato. And now I'm done. So just a recap. In this section, I needed to find the directions. In this section, I was given the directions. So in both cases, the same method will always be the same. I always start off at my origin, my home, and I need to run first before I can jump. And this is the way that I write my ordered pair, parentheses, the number of how far I had to run, separated by a comma, and then the next number tells me how high I must jump, and then I close my parentheses. Now we're going to do one more set of practice just to keep reviewing this new skill that we're learning. So now this first section tells me, it's already done for me, it's an example, but this already gives us the directions of the crayon. So how they got the directions to get to this crayon, starting from my home base, is we need to run before we can jump. So start off from my home, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see, they have the parentheses, 5, separated by a comma. And then we need to see how high we can jump, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I get to my crayon. And then they write the 5 and close up parentheses. So now we need to locate all of these items and write their directions. So let's go to the owl. Okay, we need to find directions of, we need to find directions of how to get to my owl. So remember, let's start off with my parentheses. Okay, my owl's up here. So I start off from my home, I cross over 1 time, run 1 time. Okay, so I write 1 followed by a comma. And how high do I need to jump to get to this owl? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have to jump up 9 spots. So I would write 9 and close my parentheses. Now my next item is a crown. Start off with my parentheses. Okay, my crown is all the way over here, and I'm starting off home. Let's see how far I need to run before I jump. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stop over here. Okay, write 7 followed by a comma, and I have to jump 1, 2, 3. 3 spots. I write 3. Close my parentheses. My next one is scissors. Start off my parentheses. My scissors are over here, and I'm starting off at home. So let's see how far I need to run. 1, 2. Okay. Write my 2 followed by a comma, and I have to jump up 1, 2. 2 more times. Close my parentheses. Okay. My next one is a gingerbread man. Start off my parentheses. Gingerbread man's all the way over here. So I need to get directions from him. Start off at home. I'm going to run first before I jump. I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Okay, write my comma, and I need to jump up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times to get to my gingerbread man. I write my 8, close my parentheses. Now my next one is my strawberry. Start off my parentheses. Now, as you can see right over here, my strawberry, that's my home base. It's right on my home base. And remember, the coordinates or the directions, the ordered pair for the origin will always be the same. And that is 0, 0. Because I'm not running and I'm not jumping. I'm standing right here at 0. So whenever we have the coordinates for our origin, they will always be 0, 0 because we're not running and we're not jumping. Okay, my next one is a walrus. So my parentheses first. Okay, let's see how far I need to run to get to him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Okay, I write my 5 followed by a comma, and then I jump up 1. Write my 1, close my parentheses. My last one is a mushroom. Open my parentheses. Let's see, my mushroom is all the way up here. So I'm starting off from home. I need to run 1, 2, 3 times. So let's write that down. 3 followed by a comma. And then I need to jump up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to get to my mushroom. Then I would write 6, close my parentheses. And that's it. So let's say I wanted to, instead of saying get to the walrus, now I'm going to give you a direction. So if I give you a direction, then you need to use that to to get to the picture. So let's say my new direction was 2, 2. Make that bigger so we can see it. So here's my direction, 2, 2. So I'm giving you the direction. I need you to find what's at that point. So you would do the same process. You would start off at the home base. You'd go 1, 2, and then you need to jump up 2 times, 1, 2, and you would end here. So you would say, oh, the scissors were at that point. Let me do one more. So let's say my directions were 7, 3. And I want you to find what's at this place, 7, 3. What's at this place? So you would start off at home base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So stop right there. Then you need to jump 3 times. 1, 2, 3. You say, oh, my crown is there. So you would say crown. So sometimes you'll be given the directions, and sometimes you will have to find the directions. So just like how we did in this example, we needed to find the directions, and we also were given the directions and needed to find the items that were there. So regardless of what it is, whether you're given the direction or you have to find the direction, you always start off the same. So I'm just going to go back to my review. Stop over here. You always start off at your origin. Remember, the origin's always going to be 0, 0. It's always going to be 0, 0. Remember, y-axis goes up and down. X-axis goes side to side. They always meet at the origin, and that's your home base. You find all the directions starting from your home base. And remember, you always run before you can jump. You always run before you can jump. And our ordered pairs, it's always by parentheses, how far we need to run, comma, how high we need to jump, close the parentheses. So remember this. That'll help you how far Mario has to run before he can jump. And also the last one is that our coordinate plane looks like a T or a cross, and it's separated into 4 different boxes, and each box is called a different quadrant number. We have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. And remember, y-axis goes up and down, x-axis goes side to side. And our origin is always where those 2 lines meet. And our ordered pairs is the directions of how to get to a point. And you always start off at your origin or your home base. And you need to run before you can jump. And the way to write in ordered pairs, parentheses, how far you need to run, comma, by how high you need to jump, and close the parentheses. Now, I'm hoping this video was useful to you and was informative, and that it reviewed all of this ton of new information about this new skill that we're learning. And you will be given a time to practice this new skill at home. And remember, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And also go back and watch this video. And we will be giving you different times to practice. And also, I can share this so that you have this information to always go back to when you are confused or you need further clarification. So I hope you enjoyed this video today.